Work management platforms. Ugh, endless onboarding, IT bottlenecks, admin requests. But what if things were different?
We found love in an open space.
Monday.com is different. No lengthy onboarding. Beautiful reports in minutes. Custom workflows you can build on your own. Easy to use prompt-free AI. Huh. Turns out you can love a work management platform. Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
I remember when your album came out.
Nobody accepted it. It's my first failure. People responded well to it until they knew it was me. I remember when I first started dating Tiffani, she used to come with me to 90210 things. So your dad, he called me. How would you feel about Tiffani coming on the show? I had no idea he meant, oh, she's gonna replace Shannon.
Oldish. The art of knowing more and caring less. With your host, Randy Spelling, Brian Austin Green, and Sharna Burgess. Brian Austin Green, welcome to Oldish.
Thank you.
Are you excited for today?
I'm excited because you know I love to talk.
Uh-huh.
I have no problem doing that. And I'm nervous also because so in full transparency for everybody watching this, I requested and I was not denied on the request. I have no idea what questions, what things we're going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's no bias on my part with this episode at all. And we want to do this with all three of our interviews. So
Yep, it was requested
I'm the guinea pig.
You're the guinea pig. So a lot of people said, hey, why don't you guys interview each other?
Yes.
And Brian graciously said, I'll go first. And
Stupidly, graciously,
but we're going to do it Oldish style.
Great.
As you always say, we go hard in the paint and we ask questions that you might not be asked, and we're going to go deep. And I think we're going to get to things that people don't always get to hear. And, you know, we were talking about this. You come across, I mean, people that come in here that know you always say, you are such an amazing guy. You were always there for me. And they'll cite examples of when you were there for them, how you showed up, you know, about you, about your heart. And I know the Brian Austin Green that I know, but I also want to know, like, there's the role of Brian Austin Green the roles that you've played. And then there's the dynamics of you that I think are less known because we don't always have a chance to get into it because we're working.
Right.
So.
And me, in knowing you, you are an incredible listener, but you're not always an amazing sharer.
Right.
And so even interviews, when you get asked, you have your answers that you answer with, that you feel comfortable with.
Right.
But in this interview, I would love for us to find the layer that's underneath that is even more honest about who you are and the truth of what it's been like to be you growing up and finding your way through this life. And so hopefully these questions spark a level of honesty and vulnerability that I don't think you've reached yet. We'll see where it takes us.
Let's do it.
We have 4 pages of questions, which we will not get to.
Oh, my God.
We won't get to all of them.
Right, yeah. How long is this episode?
Even Randy looked at me, he's like, you want to ask that question? And I was like, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. We'll see. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm also a little nervous. I think my palms are sweating because it's like interviewing the love of my life. It's like, I feel like I don't want to offend you with things, but I also know you and I want to dig deep into you.
It's like, I don't want you guys to worry about offending me on this because so even if something bothers me, that's fine. Like, I will cut on this whole thing and be done with it
right
at the end. And then we'll go back on to, normal stuff. This is, it's what I requested, and I think it's what our viewers deserve.
Yeah.
Is like a real, like you said, we always say we go hard in the paint.
So,
And we do it with other people. We did it with your sister. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's
Yep.
go.
So let's.
your turn.
Let's go.
All right.
Oh,
Randy, you kick us
knowing
off.
that we have to be in that same
Randy
seat.
I know,
started.
I'm
Oh, it's
not ex-
coming. Oh,
I'm not
it's
looking
coming.
forward to it.
Wait.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm pretty open anyway. I don't know what I haven't
it's-
shared, but
we'll see.
We'll see. But anyway, today is you. So,
Today is
Randy,
me.
you kick us off.
So take us back before 90210,
Mm-hmm.
before Terminator, before anger management, before the roles.
Mm-hmm.
What was early life growing up for you, and how did you even get into acting?
Early life was music.
Music.
My dad, drummer. He was gone touring a lot when I was young. So I always had the vision of I would be a drummer in a band at some point. All the schools that I went to were all music schools. And then I ended up going to a performing arts school on the USC campus, and student directors would come from the campus to pick kids for their graduation films and their projects that they had to do in class. And I did a few of those, and I really liked it. It was really fun. It's kind of a cool way to spend a weekend. Like I was, up until that point, I would skate on the weekend. Like it was the 80s. So I would be, sun comes up, you leave in the morning, and my dad would whistle when the street lights came on. And even if I was 10 blocks away, I would hear he has one of those like 2 fingers in the mouth, which I have never been able to do. So he would whistle. So my life was very simple up until that point. Now all of a sudden I'm on sets and I'm doing this stuff, and it was really fun. And a kid that I rode the bus, I rode the bus with to school was an actor. He did commercials. And I thought it was really cool. He had money, and I was like, how he always had toys and all these like cool like video game things. You know, I use the word video game lightly. Back then it was like dot matrix, and they were terrible. You know, it was like the car moves this way or this way, and there's blocks coming down. You know?
Pong.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Pong. So good though, by the way. Still love Pong.
So I told my parents that I wanted to get into acting, and my mom told me, well, in 6 months, if you still want to do it, then we'll talk about it.
And what age were you at this point?
I was 9.
Okay.
So I was like Journey's age.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 months later, I still wanted to do it. I went and met with my friend's agent and auditioned for them to represent me for commercials and like theatrical stuff, TV stuff. And they signed me, and I didn't book. I always tell people I didn't book anything for the first year. I literally auditioned for things for a year, and I booked nothing. But I didn't care because there wasn't any sort of pressure on me going in of like, oh, I've got to make money and I've got to book this, or I'm letting somebody down. I was 9. So I auditioned for things, and then I ended up booking a commercial at like just before my 10th birthday, and something clicked for me in that audition. Like I really understood what I was doing when I was in the room, and I realized like, oh, they're hiring me to do something. So I need to put my own stuff aside and not just be there for the fun of like, hey, I want to jump around and be a kid, but like I have to take this seriously if I want to do it. And I started booking everything that I auditioned for after that.
What was that like? Because you have a brother and a sister, right?
do.
Your dad traveled a lot. He was away touring all the time. Your mom worked a job.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of the time you guys had to be self-sufficient. Your mum did an amazing job at doing everything she could for you guys. And then on top of this, she's now driving you around to auditions left, right, and center.
Mm-hmm.
Did that strain your relationship with your siblings, that you were getting so much attention from your mum at that time and so much was for you?
I never really had much of a relationship with my brother.
He's a little older than you.
He's older than me, and he's just always kind of been just like a wandering kind of spirit. Like that's his thing. He's like he's like a butterfly. He goes and does stuff, and he's really spontaneous, and he never really thought about the consequences of things, and he just sort of went and did what he wanted to do.
He was often in trouble.
He was often in trouble, but he would run away from home, and he wouldn't run away to like the neighbor's house. He would run to like Philadelphia. And my mom would all of a sudden get a call from her aunt and it was like, oh yeah, Keith's here. And it was on the other side of the country.
Wow.
And she was like, oh my God, and he just that was his way. He had a lot of stuff, like parental stuff with his dad and everything growing up. So he had, there was a lot going on in his head. I don't villainize him or blame him for it. But it put a strain on our relationship for sure. Because I looked up to him for everything. He was my big brother. I wanted to go to Val Surf and get t-shirts. It's like surf t-shirts and stuff that I knew he had. And it was like, that was the world. I wanted to be like my brother. I wanted to go skateboarding with him and do those things. And he was older than me and had just different things happening in his life. And I was a super sensitive kid. I'm still a super sensitive human being, but I was a really sensitive kid. And it really disappointed me to the point where I think there was just that shut off in me for safety reasons. It was just to take care of myself. I was like, I need to not be so invested in this and not be so hopeful in this situation. So I think I kind of put it aside. I compartmentalized things.
So it was kind of your first experience of heartbreak in that sense.
For sure.
Of loving someone so deeply. And
not knowingly. Like
Yeah.
I really don't think I was at a place where I was like, oh, this is really hurting me and I've got to make some changes. I think on a very subconscious level, it was my heart and my brain taking care of me.
You know, I had that with Tori too. She was on 90210. I was around 13 or 14 and she had moved out and lived with a boyfriend. And I remember wanting to hang out and calling and leaving messages for her. And she was just doing her own thing, you know,
Of course,
being
she was
her.
yeah.
And I remember I would put on LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. And I was trying to get my anger out. And a way to cope with that, the hurt, would be to kind of like shut it off because it did hurt so badly. And it was heartbreak, even though it was, you know, a sibling. It can hurt. So it's like you have to compartmentalize it. Otherwise it feels so big.
Yeah, for sure.
it starts forming your belief systems around love and relationships too.
I had an amazing relationship though with my sister. Like,
Yes.
my sister really stepped up and was just amazing in my life. And for a while, we were the only two. My brother lived in the guest house in the back for a while. And then once he kind of moved out and moved on, then my sister moved back there. But it was very, like, her day was very much filled with spending time with me. And we spent time at the point when she had moved out, she moved closer to the beach and she had a boyfriend. But I would go out there every single weekend and go surfing with her and go to the beach with her. Like, it was she lived with me twice in two different homes that I owned when I moved out. She worked really hard. She really stepped up. She was amazing.
Okay, so you start acting at age 10. And once you start booking, you book all the things and you're everywhere. And it seems like very early on in your life, you became the breadwinner in your home. Your mum and dad started working for you and you were the one bringing in the money. Did that put any pressure on you? You said it didn't when you were 9, but did you at some point recognize what that was?
It wasn't until 90210 that I did.
So you were 17.
Yeah. And it was, I wouldn't even say it was 17. I would say it was later on in my 20s. When I was younger, I didn't have a concept of commission and a percentage coming out of my checks. I didn't know that. I knew that my dad made the choice of, he didn't want to tour anymore because he didn't want to spend so much time away from me. I knew they were around more. And I knew when I was acting that my parents were around, which was great. My mom would be on set with me because when you're younger, you have to have a parent, you have to have a guardian with you. I was doing set school, I was doing all this stuff. But it was a lot. I wouldn't necessarily say that the burden of being the financial breadwinner was so big, as I could tell that it just took a toll on my mom especially. I mean, she would have to drive to school sometimes, pick me up, drive me across town to somewhere for a commercial audition, then drive me back to the other side of town for another. I would have 3 auditions sometimes in an afternoon after school. So for her, it became a very full-time thing. It was a lot. And so there were days where just the stress of it, running late, traffic, things that were out of her control, they'd be there. It's a hard, I get it. It was a hard situation for her to be in. But yeah, it was not an easy life, I don't think, for anyone. I mean, I definitely understand now why my parents had the reaction in the very beginning of like, if in 6 months, you still, because I think they knew what a commitment it was going to be for them to have a child.
Yeah, it's a big commitment. Yeah,
like your parents, like, oh, I want to be a dancer. It's like, okay, well, that sounds great, but in theory, we're going to have to travel with you to things. We're going to have to make sure that you've got the outfits that you need. We're going to make sure that you have the training that you need. Like, it's a full team. It's a lifestyle. Commitment. It's not just the one that wants to do it. It's not like I would grab my briefcase at the front door and be like, okay, off to work. You know, it's like I was dependent on them much longer than most kids are, because I was dependent on them for work, and the fact that income was coming from that, it was like, it was a job for them also, of like, we've got to make sure that you're there on time. We've got to make sure you've got all the stuff. We've got to make sure that your flights are booked. They had to handle all of that. And it's a lot of pressure, I think, all the way around.
I remember when we first did the photo shoot, first time I met you in person, and you and I were talking, and you said something about, we were talking about relationships and different things, and you said, in my family, there were times growing up that I'm paraphrasing, I didn't feel heard, or I would fight to get my opinion. So that became something for you of needing to get your opinion out.
Right.
Where did that come from?
That was, so my parents came from the generation, their parents, my dad's dad was in the military. So it was like, they were raised in a time period where it was like kids are meant to be seen.
Right.
The silent generation.
So when we sat around the dinner table, and I've said this before, we didn't learn the art of having like healthy discussions, or really getting into like, oh, what's your point? Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, I like, let me validate that.
Probably very different than at your table.
It was very much like, this is the life that we've led. This is the stuff that we've learned. So this is the best way of doing it. So your way, I just stop even thinking about that. Like, this is the way to do it. So then it makes you defensive in, you want to be heard. You want to get your opinion out there. You want to get your point across. And so it starts creating this feeling of, I could feel like my heart race and my blood boil when I got into any sort of confrontational conversation with anyone, because I felt like, okay, I used that this morning, double dutch. You're watching the jump ropes go, and you're just waiting for your time to get in. And it's quick. You got to get in, you got to get out. So you got to say your thing and then get out. And it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about it. I said my thing, so I feel better. But it's like fight or flight that you're in.
So how has that manifested for you in adult life? I mean, I know how it's manifested, and we've talked about it. But with this, deep need of there's feeling unheard, a deep need to be heard, watching conversations, because then you watch all conversations like they're double Dutch. You come from that belief system as a kid and you treat all moments in life as like you're just trying to fight to get your piece heard.
Right.
How has that manifested for you in life, in your friendships and relationships? And is that something you've had to work on?
It's something I work on all the time. It's whenever I notice that I reacted that way, I want to kick myself. It's so frustrating because I recognize immediately when I'm doing it, and that's an easy place for me to slip into. Like that at the core is who I was for majority of my life. You know, this trying to live consciously and all that, this is new.
Dear old work platform, it's not you, it's us. Actually, it is you. Endless onboarding? Constant IT bottlenecks? We've had enough. We need a platform that just gets us. And to be honest, we've met someone new. They're called Monday.com, and it was love at first onboarding. Their beautiful dashboards, their customizable workflows got us floating on a digital cloud 9. So no hard feelings, but we're moving on. Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Whew, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox disinfecting all-purpose cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
I've been doing it for like 10 years now, but it's 10 out of 52. You know, it's
new-ish.
New-ish. There
it's
you go.
newish, but it's such a small piece of the pie for me. I still will easily get defensive. I'll easily get frustrated with things. I will have to step back from things and take a breath and think, okay, how do I really want to handle this right now? Because it just is not my first reaction ever. My first is, I want to do what I did when I was a kid. I want to say my piece. I want to and get out, and I don't care what anybody thinks. You know, boy, old habits die hard.
It's
it is
the human journey of
it is
working
just
through.
Absolutely to the core of me. Those are the things.
And this is not to say because, if your mum and dad hear this, they're amazing parents. It is inevitable that we grow up with shit from our childhood,
inevitable.
whether it's a good one or a bad one.
No matter what.
My mum, phenomenal woman, best friend in the world, still have stuff that I've had to work through in the patterns that I've built because of her. So it's I would just love to say that your mum did the most phenomenal job at having 3 kids in a home, working a job, getting you around to auditions.
My mom was
and
a
managing
superhero.
a superhero.
And the older I get, the more I uncover the childhood she had. So it's as I'm talking about these things that are just second nature for me that I'm fighting, she has the same stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Parents have the same stuff. It's not just you. You know, it's easy to think, oh, it's just me, and this is a relationship that I have. Parents all were kids with their parents at some point. So it's that. It's absolutely a chain. My mom, very strained home life when she was young. She spent most of her life living with her aunt because her mom didn't really want anything to do with her. She treated my mom like she was a mistake. Her dad left the house one day saying he was going to the store and never came home.
Wow.
But you got to think this is that time period when that was possible. Now with cell phones, you can't leave the house and just
never come
disappear.
home. No, you'll be found.
You
will be found.
You'll be found within 24 hours. You'll
somewhere.
see, you'll be seen on some, CCTV camera somewhere at the ATM.
I mean, it's just so interesting because our parents are coming to that in an older time where we are coming to it around this time. And I think our kids will probably come to it even earlier. So you can see the trickle down effect from generation to generation, which that's a good thing.
Breaking generational patterns, baby.
Right.
We're all doing it.
So, okay, 90210 happens, and it happens big, right? Everyone knows it was an explosion. You were a 90s icon, heartthrob.
That is the most insane word.
You still say that every time, but yet
I cannot.
Every person you meet says it.
I cannot wrap my head around that because to me in my head, when I think like icon and so, like I have these like films and like Back to the Future. I have these things where it's like, oh no, that is what an icon's supposed to look like. I was just a guy on a TV show.
You an icon.
So is it safe to say that you have felt some sort of fraud, imposter syndrome at some point?
For sure. For most of it, yeah. It doesn't seem like it was supposed to be happening to me on that scale. Like like you see other people going through it, and because you're on the outside of it, it looks like something. So then when you're on the inside of it and it doesn't look the same, it can't possibly be the same.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that mismatch? Because just to paint the picture here, 90210, I'm sure most people know, was so uber famous. I mean, at that time,
worldwide,
there were no teenage shows like that. So it did really become iconic and a craze. But you're saying that there's a part of you, so you're in it. You're now famous, being recognized everywhere. You go from maybe being recognized from commercials and a TV show that you were on to now an explosion. But inside, you're feeling that there's some sort of mismatch because there's a part of you that's like, who, me? This is for other people and not me. How do you navigate that, or how did you?
It wasn't super healthy for me, to be honest. Like, it wasn't, because of my age, I was so horribly insecure. You know, I was 4'6" for years. Like, I was tiny. That when the first season of the show, Ian used to pick me up by my head.
Yeah, it was 4.
He would joke around. He'd be able to pick
at like
me up.
19.
He'd be able to pick me up like this, and I would I'd hold on to his arms. And then all of a sudden we went on summer break and came back season 2, and I was his height, and everyone was like, oh, which is why I was so thin. But then I was going through feeling insecure about being that thin, being insecure about being that small. When I was going to regular high school, but I was doing commercials, I had kids that were, being kids in the hallway. Oh, God, I have my pops. And, I was just insecure. I felt like everybody was always looking at me and pointing at me and thinking, this guy's a joke. Like, this is the little kid. This is the annoying kid. I was super hyper. So I never shut up.
So you felt you were bullied in school. You weren't the cool kid in school.
I was not the cool kid. I wouldn't say I was necessarily bullied, because I think my defense mechanism was not to get too close to anybody. I was friends with this group, the skaters, and I was friends with this group, the athletes that played football, and so I was always kind of just wandering around the campus during lunch, talking to everybody. I never got too deep into just one group of people where I could be completely judged and be heartbroken if it didn't go my way.
Do you think that stemmed from your relationship with your brother?
Maybe, yeah. That's very possible. I've never thought about that, but maybe, yeah. Yeah, when you're young and you just want to be loved and supported by someone that means the world to you, and you don't get it, the last thing you want is to be rejected by anybody else. I was in dating, I was the same way. I was never, ever the aggressor with someone.
For fear of rejection?
For fear of rejection. I was like, listen, I'm not going to even really pursue this until I know there are definite signs that you are as interested as I am.
Because then it feels safe.
Right. I never, even through 902, like even through everything that I've done, that is just not, there's always been that little kid in me that is like, you know, please like me, please like me, please like me, because I don't want to be rejected by someone. Now I have more confidence in myself, so I don't feel so concerned about being rejected because I don't need everyone to like me. Like I've got a great group of people around me that know me and love me, and I know they would be as committed to this friendship and this relationship as I am with them. But when I was younger, the guards were up like crazy. Like I remember when I first started dating Tiffani, she was my first girlfriend.
Tiffani Thiessen, who was on Saved by the Bell.
Who was on Saved by the
who
Bell.
Then came over to 90210.
Right. So she was on Saved by the Bell. I started doing 90210. I had a crush on her before 90210 because we used to do all these like teen magazine things and whatever. So I'd seen her a bunch. And I always had a crush on her, but it was just never like there was, I was like, oh, I don't stand a chance with like there's that's I'm like reaching way above my weight class on this one. Started doing 90210. We ran into each other again at a couple different like ski events and things like that. And I remember I really felt like, okay, it's now or never. Like I'm gonna like really just kind of be in her orbit to see if she starts looking at me in a different way. So I'm going to just kind of be around and I'm going to like just be myself and have fun and, and hopefully then she will find some sort of feelings for me. I'm not going to like push it. I'm not going to go, hey, let's go out on a date or let's do a thing because again, rejection. Didn't want that to happen. And I remember when I finally felt from her like, oh, there's interest on that. I was just beside myself. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Because I'd never dated anyone before. I'd never put myself out there as much as I did with her.
Oh, so she was like your first,
She was my first
real
girlfriend. Oh, yeah.
And this happened before she
Before
got on to
90210.
90210. Okay.
So we started dating. I was doing 90210. She was doing, she was still doing Saved by the Bell. And then they started doing that Saved by the Bell new class. And it was like the college years. And although that doesn't make any sense because they were still young. Maybe that was later. It's
Timeline.
52.
Cool.
My
Yeah,
the
yeah.
timeline for
Timelines,
me
you're
is
fine.
ridiculous. So then she used to come with me to 90210 things. Like, I think she came to the Manor a couple times. So your dad knew her really well. And then when he was casting these other shows after 90210, Models Inc., things like that, she was coming in and auditioning for him. And then he called me and he was like, hey, how would you feel about Tiffani coming on the show? And I didn't know what he meant at that point. I thought like one episode, two, absolutely, for sure. I had no idea he meant, oh, she's going to replace Shannon at that point. And her character, her storyline is going to be this and she's going to, and it was just the hardest thing in the world for me.
What was so hard about it?
That was my home. Set was my home. Like set was this was my family. These were my brothers and my sisters. Cause I had my sister at home, but this was more of a complete family. And I was there all day long, every single day. So all of a sudden she comes into it and she's working with people, not with me. She has a dressing room in the same hallway.
Right.
But like we have different call times. We have different things going on. And it was just an invasion in my space and what had become so dear to me. Like as a kid, not having that big family feeling, it was that show was so crazy and nobody understood it like the other people that were on the show. Nobody would get it. So it was a really special bond.
Was that the downfall of the relationship, you think?
sure.
Is
The way I handled it, for sure.
What do you mean in the way that you handled it?
I was so incredibly jealous of storylines. There was just absolutely not a shred of maturity in the way I dealt. I was a wreck every time I get a new script, and it was like, oh, her character starts with Luke, and now she's with Ian. She literally dated every single guy on the show.
Except you.
My character was last. And by the time we started dating on the show, we were broken up.
oh,
It was ridiculous. But I've talked about this. Just in being in the place where I am now, like I would love to sit with her, because as hard as that was for me, I can't imagine how hard that was for her. The excitement of like, oh my God, I'm going to go work on the show and whatever. And then it just becoming so miserable to be there. And she knew how horribly it was affecting me and us. And she wasn't writing the scripts. She couldn't do anything about it. The scenes were written, the storylines were written, the things were there. And so for her, I think much more than me, she had that like front row seat of watching it fail, watching the relationship go away. And we lived together. It was a real relationship.
you were serious.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old were you?
18, 19, like it was early on.
You guys lived together young.
Yeah.
Baby, you don't mess around.
Yeah.
You're a relationship guy.
I am.
Yeah. A serial monogamist, one would say.
Monogamous, yeah. I do not like being out of a relationship. I would much rather share my life with someone. What's so funny about that, like I want to share my life with someone, but then at the same time, like I don't want it's my space. So like I don't, it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, so let's make a decision together on like I just want to, grab my surroundings by the horns and, make it the way I want to. Like I'm definitely not the best at being a partner in cohabitating with someone.
In what way? Specifically, because you cohabitate with Sharna.
I do, but like Sharna knows, like I am very, I'm really like I've got a vision in my head. I'm really opinionated of things. And if something isn't going my way necessarily, the sensitive side of me easily comes in, and it takes a minute then for me to step back and go, okay, it's just a chair. Let's just let it go. It's just a chair.
Morning decisions. A creamy mocha frappuccino drink? A sweet vanilla? Maybe a smooth caramel? Or that white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Start your day with bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drinks. Pick up a bottle near you wherever you buy your groceries.
You guys, I just found the most incredible Mother's Day gift. It's called Goldbelly. Goldbelly is this amazing site where you can get the most iconic foods from restaurants all across the U.S., shipped anywhere in the country for free in time for Mother's Day. We're talking cakes from Ina Garden and Martha Stewart, Magnolia Bakery's famous banana pudding, and New York bagel brunches. Make Mother's Day perfect with Goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code MOM. That's Goldbelly.com, promo code MOM.
But that first part of me is like, my first response is like, oh my God, but no, this is the better of the two things. And like, I don't understand why you don't see it this way. Like it's hard. Like I will slip into that easily. And again, I think so I developed a really interesting thing at the point when I moved out of my parents' house. I had that like super defensive, blood boiling side of me from not feeling heard when I was a kid. At the same time though, my mom was very involved in everything that I did. Like she for years I'd get up in the morning for school. I'd go take a shower and come out, and she would have my outfits laid out on the bed.
Even like as a teenager?
Not as a teenager, but pretty close. Like I was like maybe 12. But then moving out, I felt so micromanaged in some ways that like I moved out and I wanted to do everything myself. I was like, I don't want you to help me with things. So then I became the extreme opposite of that. Like I didn't want anyone to involve themselves in choices I was making and things I was doing. Like I wanted to do it on my own. I wanted to learn and grow from it. But it's the way the pendulum always swings. You go from one extreme to the other, and then it's, not until you find balance in it that it makes sense. I was so extreme once I got out of the house. Like I just wanted, because all of a sudden I had a business manager outside of my parents doing it. Like I was finally being an adult and like learning things. And I didn't want anyone to tell me any different from what I was doing. I wanted to experience all of it, the good and the bad. And I did. I went through both.
I do want to get into more of you in relationships and how your childhood experiences have created patterns for you. I think that's fascinating. But before we go there, I do want to ask the question of, you had this massive amount of fame in the 90s, and naturally fame fades. Has that been hard for you? You are still Brian Austin Green. People recognize you everywhere you go, but it's not like
icon.
You're an icon.
I'm icon Brian Austin Green.
But it does fade, right? And it's not like it was in the 90s.
Right.
And fair, you've been through things in life. You went through illness. There were things that took you away from being able to work and really go after the things that you were working on and doing. And you're now in a space of creating what that looks like now. But how has that felt for you, going from uber famous, all the attention, all the success, to having that fade and now having to rebuild? Does that have an effect on your ego? How do you take it?
No, so that's never, I think, because there's always been that part of me that the imposter syndrome of like, oh, well, I was never that famous. The show was the famous thing, wasn't me. If it was any other actor, it would have been so-and-so as David Silver from 90210 was the famous thing, that we were on. It's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who separated himself from the Terminator films and was famous as that name. So I never had, because of the imposter syndrome, I never had that awareness of how bright the star was or how much it had faded. That was, to me, it was always based around work. And I worked nonstop. From the point 90210 ended until the last 5 years, really, when I got sick, and then kind of out of that, writer's strike, all sorts of things have happened. I was working constantly. I was going from show to show to show to, if you look on my IMDb credits, it's insane. It's 10 or so shows that went for a season or more since 90210, not before. It's the thing, I think the thing that's been the hardest recently is just the change in the business, and all of a sudden work not having the opportunities to work like I did before when I was younger, because they're not there. There is no pilot season where you have an audition every single day and you have a chance to do, you're kind of I'm just sort of floating in things, and my name and previous work is getting me jobs, but it's the industry doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah,
right
definitely
now.
in flux.
It's hard to navigate.
So it's we're all redefining who we are. I'm now having to figure out so many things outside of being an actor that I never had to think about before. I was like, oh, I'm an actor. I'm just going to do this for the rest of my life. And it's working. I'm working nonstop. So cool. Even when Megan and I were together and she was doing Transformers and it was massive. I didn't feel any like jealousy or anything over that. I felt like, oh, cool. Yeah, you're getting the same. Like I went through this in the 90s, but I know like that happens and then it comes back down and then you might do something new and then it goes back up again and then it comes back down. And so I know that it's cyclical that way. So I don't feel like, oh my God, you know, the way it is right now is the way it's going to be forever.
Right.
I know that I'm literally one job away from all of a sudden that's what the business does. That's what, you know, being an artist is.
Yeah. Speaking of being an artist, I know music is so instrumental to you in your life. I remember when your album came out, Stop Carnival. I really, really liked it. I know a lot of people who did. And then I didn't see any of this, but then in retrospect, there was some sharing that like not everyone accepted that. And
nobody accepted it.
So what was that like for you? Because I feel like heartbreaking.
It's my first failure in my life. Like it's the first time that I had poured my heart and soul into something and it wasn't received well. Like acting, things had, for the most part, worked up until that. And that was hip hop was and is my life. Like that is the music, that's the soundtrack to my childhood. So when I was in recording, we were super excited about it. We were doing all this and people responded well to it until they knew it was me. So that was the thing that was so devastating was I remember when we finished the album and I was going to go to New York and do some press for it. So the label sent out these advanced copies of it, but they didn't put my name on it, nothing. It was just like a white label thing. And it was just like, hey, listen to this. This artist is going to be in town next week. We want you to come and sit down and interview him and talk to him. And the response was great. Like we had people that were like, oh, really like it. And it was cool. And I remember being in the conference room up at the label and this one hip hop reporter, like I'll never forget, I don't remember his name, but I'll never forget his face. I remember when he walked in and he saw me and he went, oh, you got me. And I was like, what do you mean? And to him, it was like, we didn't put my name on the label and whatever to drag people into something. And then I'm there. It was some reveal of like, it was some sort of practical joke or whatever. And just at that point, the hip hop audience did not support it at all. You got to think we were coming out of Vanilla Ice. Like we were just coming out of this time where
right there was Vanilla Ice and Everlast, I think, and that.
But Everlast was great. But it was, you know, hip hop was a culture that was born out of people having a voice that didn't have a voice before and being able to pull themselves up out of a dire situation and really make something for themselves. And it was a celebration. That's why hip hop felt so good because it was like, yes, let's dance and do these things because we're celebrating the fact that we have this. And then Vanilla Ice, and I don't want to get into him or badmouth him at all, but it was a very different situation with his music. People all of a sudden found out like, oh, he went to a private school and so all of this whole thing of like, oh, he's from the streets and he's, you know, it's like, no, none of that. Like his name was actually Rob Van Winkle. And it was like, I remember when it went down, everyone was like just deflated.
Right.
So it was so deflated that anybody else that was white within the industry was just highly scrutinized. Plus the fact that I was the kid from 90210.
Yeah.
You were David Silver.
I just had everything working against me because there were other white rappers at that point. I mean,
but not a ton.
Not a ton, but there were. Like, you remember Third Base?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you're talking a few.
Beastie
you cut to
Boys,
now.
like you
yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, now, I mean, honestly, since like Eminem just turned the whole thing on its head, because he's so good and so respected by we saw on that show when the woman said it's your favorite rapper's favorite rapper.
Rhythm and Flow.
Yeah.
We're a big
on
fan.
Rhythm and Flow.
Great show.
And it's like, and you watch interviews with people and they ask the question and he's the one. So yeah, it was, I was devastated. I was like, I don't know I don't want to do music anymore. Like, I don't want to put myself out there anymore in that way, because the show was still happening. It was 95 when my album was released, and we still did the show for another 5 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm just going to start producing. I'm going to start being like completely off the radar and doing music.
I imagine your reaction to it too. First of all, your first love, the thing you love most in the world, people didn't love for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to receive.
Yeah.
But coming from your childhood, your experiences, the patterns that you had built, this fighting to be heard, difficult to take, like feeling like you don't want to do anything wrong in case you're the problem. All of that culminates in you you weren't set up to be able to receive or handle a setback.
Oh,
in
scrutiny?
This.
No. I had no skills.
And while it was massive scrutiny, right, and it was a big blow to you, you didn't have the tools at the time to be like, well, I'm going to try it again.
Right.
You know, it was complete shutdown of something that you loved because, again, like your relationship with your brother, you put yourself out there and you got rejected.
Yeah.
And so you built those walls and you shut it down and you completely ignored that part of yourself for a long time. And it's beautiful, not to make this personally about our story, it's beautiful when I see you in the room making music, because there is something around the energy of you that was always meant to be you. I remember when we were first dating and I would just be there laying on the couch with Pascal and you would be making beats or playing me things you'd already done, and the passion that would light up in you was always so much brighter than anything else you had ever done. It's who you are and what you're meant to do. And I know there are so many things on the cards for you and coming up and the things you're building, but I do believe music is still there for you. And the way you talk about it now shows the growth in you as a human, because I do believe you're going to try it again and you're going to put yourself out there again.
I will. There's definitely a part of me now when I'm working on beats and music and I'm writing and I'm doing things for what I'm doing that I hate the fact that it's taken me so long, because I worry that my most creative years are behind me. Like, I remember when I was doing my album, I was in the studio all day long. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm tired, I need to take a break. It was like, oh, I just loved
A
doing
complete
it.
flow state.
Oh my God.
I remember I was there for
We
some
would
of it.
rap on set and I could not wait to get home and work. Trey was living at the house for a while. Jazzy Fat Nasties were living in the house. Like, we were doing all sorts of, just like, I was making music all day long. And now I don't have that same commitment to it. And I worry that, like, I wasted those years. Like, I see other people that live in music now and I see it and I go, I was that way 30 years ago, you know?
I think it's a muscle. And
It
I
is.
think that the more you get into it, the more you'll then bring your life experience. You have so much more to add to it now than you did as a 20-something-year-old
How
kid.
do I work out that muscle, though, with 4 young kids at home?
Absolutely.
And it's...
Yeah, that's the question.
I was 20,
Yeah.
you know, before.
It's hard.
Yeah,
So I
it
literally,
is hard.
I had all the time in the world. I didn't have to be there for anyone else. I didn't have to do anything else.
I know.
I go to set and work. Now it's like, I go in there and then all of a sudden I'm hearing, you know, kids at the gate knocking on the door, and then the dogs come running in. It's a whole different thing.
We need to build a studio that's not in our house,
Right.
first of all, and then that's when it happens, and we'll do that. Okay.
But there's times and periods, and things come and go, and the thing is that I want people to hear, because you said it just lights him up so much, and I know because I've seen him. I mean, he got me my first little studio and was instrumental in that. Don't stop doing something, even if it can't be the way that it was, the amount that it was. Right. But if something lights you up that much and it's a part of your soul and who you are, you have to find time to do it no matter what. It's like you not dancing or you not expressing yourself in the ways that you do. If you're not doing that, some of you dwindles. It does.
For sure.
I agree with that
completely. Because it's who you are. Yeah. I know when I'm sitting in the studio and I'm like, working on stuff, I feel it deep in my bones. It's a piece of me. It always will be. And I can tell how much I missed it when I'm doing it.
Absolutely. So pieces of you, Brian Austin Green.
Moving on to the next piece of you, let's talk about you in love and relationships. You guys tried to make it work for a very long time.
The first time she wanted a divorce, we had 2 kids. I was sick.
Did you just say okay?
It was the most vulnerable thing I had ever experienced in my life at that time.
I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that you don't have to navigate life alone. If there's something hard that you're dealing with or you're just ready for a change, then reach out to me at randyspelling.com, or you could DM me on Instagram, also at randyspelling. And if I can help you, I will. If there's a resource that I can share with you, I will also do that as well. Thanks.